Now people will say like, well, I know I should be eating a salad and not a pizza. Why can't I do it? As if they're inherently flawed or broken. It's like I keep trying to stick to this diet and I keep ending up ordering pizza. Well, it's like because pizza's better. It tastes better. It's easier, like in all ways except for one. Salad is healthier. But we're not just comparing health. We're comparing enjoyment. We're comparing taste. We're comparing ease.
I want to welcome everybody back to another episode of The Soul Inspired. Today I have Paul Levitin with me today, and he is a mindset and personal development coach and amongst other things, right? So really nice to have you here, Paul. Thanks for joining me today for today's episode.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Joe. I've been looking forward to this. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Yeah, again when I was booking everyone, I say this a lot on the episodes, but when I'm booking, I kind of have this ideology of the direction I want some of the content to go. And you're stuck with me clearly as soon as I seen your message. And I was like, okay, this is someone I want to talk to. Right. So we spoke a little bit before we jumped in here and everything, but um, it seems like you have a bit of background in fitness and nutrition, but you're also now, into mindset and personal development. So I was wondering if you can think of something in your life, whether it was an event or a time in your life that set you off on the path that you're on now, and what that was and why you went in that direction.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, as you said, I started as a fitness and nutrition coach. I spent 10 years as a personal trainer doing nutrition, doing all things health and wellness, mobility, corrective exercise, all of that stuff. I dove very, very deep into that world. But over the last few years, I kind of left the fitness and nutrition space and I focus more on mindset, personal development. I coach on self-confidence. Everything is around the stuff that goes on inside of our heads
Yep.
rather than so much with the physical body. And that wasn't really one thing that triggered that change. It was more of an accumulation of small things over my career as a fitness coach, because of what I saw over and over and over for, again, 10 years in person, online. This wasn't just like online coaching. I was in a gym teaching with real people, and what I saw was that while people do need help with their health, people do need general guidance with nutrition, with fitness stuff. Often people were using that as a crutch of sorts to achieve something different, right? It was, I want to lose weight. Well, why do you want to lose weight? Well, because when I lose weight, then I'll be happy.
Mm.
Or I need to eat better. Why? Because when I eat better, then I'll be healthier. And when I'm healthier, then my family will love me, or whatever the thing is. Then people will respect me. Then there's always something deeper that people are after. Very rarely is it, I just want to get in shape for the sake of getting in shape. Do I just want to lose weight for the sake of losing weight? Like, yes, it's a healthy thing. It's something that we should all strive to do, probably. But the reality is people don't do it because they don't. It's hard and it's annoying, and no one wants to just exercise all the time for the sake of exercising. We do it for a greater reason. And what I came to realize was that everything is like that. There's a deeper root cause of everything. So that's what I became more interested in, is human behavior, psychology, why we do the things that we do, and more importantly, why we don't do the things that we say that we want to do. Why does everyone say that they want to eat healthy and exercise, but so few people actually do it? Why does everyone say they want to start a podcast, but so few people actually do it? Why does everyone say they want to do these things, but we don't do those things? So that's when I started to, again, study psychology, study human behavior, study the mind, and it just became much more interesting to me. And I was like, okay, if I can help people with this, the other stuff, the fitness, the nutrition, the whatever else, just kind of falls into place.
I love that. Okay, so interesting. So you actually did have a goal at one point to get into fitness and nutrition. That was kind of your career path that you had chose. And you're in that direction. You're going through it. You're doing your day to day. You're doing your stuff, but you're noticing underlying causes that you're seeing kind of a bit of a pattern amongst maybe majority of people. Was any of that around confidence? Was that the biggest part? And how, because when you think of confidence, you think of someone wanting to look better, right? Maybe they're a bit overweight, they want to look good, so it's like physical appearance. And I guess the question I would ask you is how much of that is physical confidence, physical appearance confidence, as opposed to something else going on from maybe past traumas, things like that, like something more mental.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, so confidence is a big one for me. That's what I found. So happiness and confidence, those are the two things I talk about a lot. I have a podcast. My podcast is literally called Happy, Healthy Human. And happy is the first
Nice.
word and human is the last word because that's what everything is about. And healthy is crammed in there because I do think that's a piece of the puzzle. And then confidence is something I teach on, I coach on. I have entire courses about confidence because exactly that. It's like, well, why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to have big biceps? Why do you want to have abs? Why do you want to do whatever you want to do? It's like, because I'll be more happy, because I'll be more confident. And usually confidence is, those words are kind of interchangeable because I think that if I'm more confident, that will lead to more happiness in some way. And it's exactly as you said, people assume that it is a physical thing. That is, when I lose the weight, then I'll be more confident. When I can go to the beach in a bikini, then I'll be more confident. When I
Mm,
have bigger arms and I'm not the scrawny string bean kid, right? For guys, it's usually, for women, it's usually getting smaller. For men, it's often getting bigger, right? It's like, when I've always been the scrawny guy, I just want to have bigger arms. Once I have bigger arms, then everything will be different. And it's like, no, it won't. You like, that's what I saw over and over. It's like, you reach that destination. Like, I can help you lose the 20 pounds, but if you don't change the internal beliefs, if you don't change who you are as a person, your identity, a million other things, as you said, if you don't handle those past traumas, if you don't, I mean, again, that's not something I get into with people, but that's, like, the reality is usually there's much more, like, the surface level is literally what we can see. So we just look at ourselves in the mirror and go, okay, what can I change? And
mm,
hopefully if I change that, then everything else will change because we can see that. Even in the gym, they call these mirror muscles, right? What the muscles that people care about are biceps, abs, chest for guys, right? It's because it's what you see. Most guys are not paying attention to their back or their rear shoulder or their glutes or something like that. And it's simply because of the fact that they don't see it as often. And
right.
like, that is like literally what we see, we pay attention to. So people see their body, so they think that changing their body is going to change everything. And again, I just came to the observation of seeing this play out hundreds and hundreds of times, like, oh no, that's not the thing that's going to help people. So how am I just best going to serve myself, my family, the world, is by actually helping people get to the real thing that they're after, which is just feeling better, being happier, being more confident.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. I always wonder, a lot of people that, I mean, and I'm really big into health and nutrition, trying to always be in a place where I'm feeling confident about the things I'm doing. But I notice a lot with me is, if you're talking about whether any kind of illness or physical ailments people have, because I'm sure you deal with that when you're working in the fitness realm, right? People coming in trying to heal something, right? Something's going on. And I've always wondered about how much of that has to really do with, I'm sure obviously having a good exercise routine on a daily or every other day or whatever it may be for some people, it's important to move your body. But I've always wondered how much of it has to do with the mental state. Like how much is stress causing the issues? I wonder how many people go in and they work their butts off trying to get into this great shape, feel confident, yet they're still dealing with all these ailments because they're not dealing with it internally. Is that something you've seen?
Yeah, 100%. And this is one of the big issues, is that it's never that simple. Again, we go to the first thing that seems obvious and apparent because our bodies, right? It's like, if I'm not feeling good, it's like I can see my body. I know I feel a little bit achy. So it's like, well, everyone knows I'm supposed to be exercising more. And there's a level of that. For a lot of people, especially in the sedentary world that we live in the year 2024, for a
Mm,
lot of people, that is the answer. For a lot of people, it is the answer that you simply have to get up off of the couch and do something. You have to stop eating so much McDonald's and eat more fruits and vegetables and eat more protein. Like, it can be that simple. But the thing is that there's no one size fits all answers. And people look at that and they go, oh, okay, well, if eating healthy is good, then eating more healthy is better. And if exercising 3 times a week is good, then exercising 6 times a week is better. And sometimes that is the
mm.
case. Sometimes you're a high strong, high stress individual who's working 10 hours a day and has 3 kids at home and is arguing with your spouse, and your car just broke down, and now you're trying to throw 6 hours of workouts on top of that, and that's only piling on to add to the overall stress pile, which is only going to lead to overwhelm, burnout, and eventually self-sabotage. And that's, to me, the opposite side of the coin, right? It's like everything, if we are honest with ourselves, is within our own control, right? I do or I don't. It's all up to me, right? It's taking ownership. So anything that I don't do is because I chose not to in some capacity. Either I can say it's because I don't have time, I don't have the resources or whatever, but it's like, who controls my time? I do. Who controls my resources? I do. So everything comes down to myself. So if I'm not doing something that I think I need to do, it's going to be self-sabotage in some way. So going to that person who is overwhelmed, overstressed, overworked, overbusy, and now they're trying to do more, that in itself is self-sabotage because you're setting yourself up on a path that you're not going to be able to maintain. Like we think that
Mhm.
we can just like it's these like cliche motivational platitudes of like just do it. You just got to grind like 75 hard, whatever it is. And it's like again, for some people, everyone exists on a bell curve, right? And there's one end of the spectrum where people just need to yeah, you just got to shut up and do it, dude. Like, yes, there's like, you can only make, like, there's only so many excuses. But I think a lot of people think they fall into that category and they're like, I just need to do more. I just need to man up. But the reality is they're on the other side of the category, the other side of the spectrum, where they're doing a lot, they're already overwhelmed, they're not sleeping enough, they're not getting the nutrients they need, and their body is already running on fumes, and now they're trying to throw more at themselves. And like
Mhm.
that's a recipe for disaster as well.
Right, because that in a sense would be added stress, right? I mean, you're adding more stress to your body on top of the stress that was already accumulating. So I can totally see what you're saying. If you're dealing with a client, so I'm assuming that you coach someone, and whether it's are you still coaching in fitness? Like when you're doing like people are working, or is it mostly the mindset that you're really focusing on these days?
Yeah, no, I don't coach fitness anymore. I do everything that I do is one-on-one mindset coaching and then courses and small group coaching. But again, everything is happy, healthy, human. Healthy is a part of that as well. It's just not like that's not the main focus of what I'm doing.
Okay. If you have programs that you work with people, and you walk them through it, is there any is there anything you can let us know that you would start with someone? Like how would you start working with someone? What would the first thing you'd be focusing on?
Yeah, so it's so again, it depends. Every person is unique, and that's the whole point of coaching, right?
Right.
It's just tailored to the individual. This is not like, hey, do Paul's program. This is, okay, how can Paul help Joe be the best version of Joe? So again, for some people, that is, hey, we need to get you to do more. But some people, a lot of people, it's, hey, we need to get you to do less. We need to get you to focus your attention on the three things that actually move the needle rather than the 15 things that you're doing and spreading yourself so thin. As you mentioned, right? Like everything is just stress. And what we have to understand is that your body only understands stress. Stress is stress is stress. Your body doesn't discern stress from a workout, stress from work, stress from your car breaking down, stress from that email that your boss sent that says, hey, can I see you at 4 o'clock today? And it's 8 o'clock in the morning. And now you're thinking about it all day in the back of your head. Stress from not knowing if you're going to be able to pay whatever bill at the end of the month. Stress from the argument that you had with your significant other. All of these things are stress. So when you're running on high stress, anything that you add to that pile is going to tip the metaphorical scales at some point. So again, for that type of person, it's looking at the whole picture. Often we look at things compartmentalized. They say, what do I need to do for my fitness? It's
Mhm.
like, well, we can't just look at fitness because things don't operate in a vacuum. We have to look at the whole picture. So that's the first step that I take with people is like, how do we get clear on what's actually going on? Because again, when you're too zoomed in, right, they're saying you're missing the forest for the trees. Or a saying that I like is you can't read the label from inside the jar. When you're too close to it, you don't understand what's actually happening. So the job of a coach, my job, is to just step back and give you a different perspective to say like, okay, what you think is this, right? What you think is that, oh, it's just because you're not working out 6 times a week. What I'm seeing is that you're not sleeping enough, that you're overstressed at work, that you are working out 3 times a week, but you're doing it poorly. So it's like, what if instead of trying to add 3 more hours a week, we got you to sleep more and be more efficient with the workouts that you're already doing? And then you get more results in less time. Or again, it doesn't have to be about fitness. This is business, this is relationships, this is everything. So it's just about creating the habits and the routines that we want. And again, then you can plug in workout, you can plug in meal prepping, you can plug in writing, you can plug in going to therapy with your significant other. Whatever your thing is, that's your thing. The point is, how do we get you there?
Right. So everybody has, and I know this, I'm a coach, a music coach myself, and I know when I'm coaching music, I have to approach each person just a little bit different because they could be starting from a different starting point. Their ideas of what they want to accomplish can be completely different. So I'm sure that's all stuff that you have to work through with each individual. And then is your job then to allow them to see, this is where I always question things about a coach as myself. So here I'm going to ask you this from a coach to a coach. So do you try your best to allow people to self-realize the issues they need to work on instead of giving your opinion of what it is you believe they need to work on? I wonder this because there are a lot of coaches out there that seem to make it seem as though they have the blueprint answer of what how to heal. But again, you said you like nailed it, as soon as you said that everyone's so different. And I find that, at least for me, going to them and seeing where they're at first and seeing if I can get them to kind of learn, self-realize themselves. Is that the same with you, or do you go a different approach?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's exactly that. So if I had to sum up my job as a coach in one sentence, it's to get you out of your own way. That's what it is. You already know what to do. People come to me with this idea of like, well, I just need the right plan. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Google exists. Chat GPT exists. Books exist. The plans are out there. The information is out there. In the year 2024, anyone who says they suffer from a lack of information is either willfully ignorant or straight up lying. That's just straight up. It's like there is no lack of information. That cannot be your excuse anymore. We have to just take that off the table, right? That is not that like I don't know how to do something. YouTube. I
Right.
don't know how to change the taillights on my car. Well, YouTube will teach you. I don't know how to fix a dishwasher. YouTube will teach you. I don't know how to work out. If you spent 3 hours on YouTube, you could learn everything you need to know about exercise and nutrition that would last you the rest of your life. More than people would pay me thousands of dollars to do, which is a big part of why I also left the industry because I just thought that it was disingenuous at this point to try to teach people for a large sums of money what they don't need me to teach them. So that's right. So now again, like I said, what like you asked me, what's my first step? My first step is looking at the real picture. So people are so zoomed in, what they think they need is a plan. We zoom out. We say, no, you have a plan. You've Googled meal plans before and you haven't stuck to it. You've Googled workouts before and you haven't stuck to it. So what you need is something to understand why you aren't sticking to your commitments. That's what we have to talk about. So then to go to your that's part one. And then to your question, it is exactly that. It is everyone again has inside of them the answer. They know that what they need to do, right? Every conversation that I have with a new potential client, they go, well, I know I should be doing this, right? If it's a weight loss, I know I should be eating less, whatever. If it's exercise, I know I should be exercising more. If it's business, right? I coach people on sales and business as well. Well, I know I should be, putting in more hours, blah, blah, blah. It's like, so you're literally telling me you know what you should be doing. So you don't need me to tell you what to do. You need me to get you to put blinders on to do the thing that you actually need to do. Now, again, of course, is there a world where sometimes what people think they need to do is not what they need to do? For sure. But it's not my job to tell them that. It's my job to help them see that themselves, to your point, because human nature is to not want to listen to others and want to listen to ourselves. Anyone who's a parent will know that if you tell your kid what to do, they're going to do the exact opposite. And if you want them
Right.
to clean their room, you go, I sure love when this room is so dirty. I would hate if you cleaned it. And then they're going to pick up all their toys, right? It's like,
Right.
this is literally human nature. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Everyone has most everyone has tried a low carb or no carb diet at this point. Everyone has tried keto and almost everyone has fallen off. Why? Because when you restrict something, when you say you're not allowed to have carbs, the human brain goes, that's exactly what I want. I can't have it. I can't have it. I can't have it. I want the whole thing.
Mm.
So as a coach, when I'm telling you this is what you have to do, inherently somewhere inside of you, you're going to fight back against that. So what I do, I tell my clients first day, I say, I will never tell you what to do. I might give you suggestions. I might say, hey, if your goal is X and you're doing Y, that's taking you farther from your goal. Maybe try Z because that will take you closer to your goal. But it's always going to be your decision because you're an adult and you're always going to make your own decisions. And humans will always act in their own best interest. Again, this is all just human nature. So as a coach, again, people think that they're coming to me and they're just, Paul's going to give me some plan written out. I'm just going to follow the plan and everything's going to be good. And again, if that were the case, if it were that simple, YouTube, podcasts, books, blogs would have solved the problem years ago. There's for
Right.
some reason, we have all of the answers. Everyone can go pick up Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, whoever's biography, and we're not all billionaires. Everyone can go pick up the 4 Hour Body, whatever book, and we're not all perfectly fit. So there's a disconnect between pure information and putting that information into action. And that's where a coach comes in.
I love that. And I also was just thinking about, so I'm gonna move into a direction that's something you may deal with a little bit. I'm gonna focus a little bit on my own experience and my just to give you a little background as well. And it's that growing up, I dealt with different ailments. I've had skin issues, skin ailments since I was 10, 11, psoriasis, things like that. Then I had asthma and had all these different ailments that were coming up as I got older. Even when I was a kid, it was really bad. And at some point in my life, I decided to change the way I ate. I did it through probably like you said, seeing different things online and trying different things. But I went in a direction that spoke right to me. And my way isn't the right way for everybody. It's just what worked for me. But the approach that I took was more a whole foods, plant-based diet. That was the decision I had made. It wasn't all my friends still ate meat and everything. I just wanted to try something different. And when I went in that direction, before I knew it, the asthma had gone. The skin cleared right up, like almost to a like 100%. Still a little bit, but it had cleared up quite a bit. And I think through doing it, I was able to look and say, "Wow, what's happening?" And that kind of fueled that fire for me to continue down that road. I've also, obviously, I mean, even through experience, I've seen people that have healed that through a keto diet or through. I've seen carnivore people say they healed their psoriasis just by eating just meat. So it wasn't even anything about being vegan or plant-based, but that's what worked for me. The reason I bring this up is because in those moments when I was doing that years ago, I felt I remember eating the way I was eating, and I remember thinking, God, this is great food. This is after months of doing it. And I thought, why does everyone eat the other way? Why do people go to Taco Bell and McDonald's? Like, I don't understand. And I was really thinking this. This was like internally my thoughts. And I thought, I'll never eat like that again. But, fast forward a couple years as the vegan movement took off and they started saying, oh, okay, we can create all the same garbage fast food, but in a vegan way. It's now easier to access, a chicken burger from KFC that's plant-based. Or like these things started coming up because when I started doing it, there wasn't any of that. So I just had to eat fruits and vegetables all day. Like I had to really go in potatoes, rice, healthier carbs with vegetables, big salads, lots of colors. That was the route I went. And tofu and things like that for protein, all that stuff. But like I went in that direction. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, I'm eating poorly. And what started happening? Well, the asthma didn't really come back, but the skin started getting worse again, started getting joint issues again. When you have psoriasis, a lot of times you have joint related pain or things like that. So I was dealing with all this. And I guess the question I ask you, and now I'm kind of leading back the other way I was, going back and trying to create what I would call healthy habits. And the reason I bring up the word habits is because, again, with what I just said, there was a point where I was eating non-inflammatory foods to a point where I actually loved it. It just felt really good in my body. And I didn't understand why people were eating poorly. But through changing those habits, I started craving those bad foods again. So all of a sudden, I'm wanting that plant-based chicken nugget from this fast food restaurant. Or so how much of our experience has to do around creating healthier habits? It would be the question I would ask you. Does it have a large piece of moving into a better direction? It doesn't have to be around food, but I found with me, it was the inflammation I was getting from the foods. And if I ate more anti-inflammatory, I felt better.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, that is the lens through which everything goes through. Does this make me feel better or feel worse? That's it. It's very simple. That's what I was saying. Like, the answer. You don't need a coach to tell you. Oh, when I eat like this, I feel good. And then I started eating like this because I thought, give them an inch, they take a mile. So maybe I'll try the Taco Bell. Maybe I'll try this. Oops, started feeling like crap again. Well, it tells you. There's no, like you don't need a course to tell you that. But now habits, you have to understand what's the point of a habit? What is a habit? This word gets thrown around all the time. Like make it a habit, make it a habit, make it a lifestyle.
Mhm.
Habits are simply your brain's way of simplifying things. Your brain is just a pattern recognition machine. Your brain is always looking to save energy because as humans, as animals, energy is the resource of life. So if you run out of energy, you die. And if you cannot get enough energy, you die. And everything in life circles around that. That's why everything is based on safety. This is the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this physiological safety, right? Like you have to be able to eat enough to survive in order to think about anything else in life. If you are, and this goes to your question, well, why doesn't everyone eat like this? Well, some people are poor. Some people live in a food desert. Some people don't know that this is an option. Like this is why it's such a, we have to take such a multifaceted view of all this stuff. You
Yeah.
cannot look at something as just one way. It's like, well, is eating fruit better than eating dollar store bodega chips? Yeah. But when I was growing up in New York City, the options were chips and honey buns. It wasn't a fresh acai bowl smoothie or something like
Right.
that. Right now it is for sure because times change, but like, and also that thing is 8 times more expensive. So
Mm.
that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying like there's we have to look at the full picture of this stuff. But going back to the energy thing, right? Your brain is always looking for how can I conserve energy? That's where all of this stems from. This is you talk about peeling back the onion. This is the center of the onion. Every decision that you make goes through this framework. Is this getting me closer to or farther from survival? Because that's all your brain cares about. Now, anything that expends energy is getting me farther from survival, and anything that saves or gains energy is getting me closer to survival. So that means eating food that is highly caloric to my survival brain tells me, oh, yes, that's good.
Mm.
Eating a hamburger feels better than eating a blueberry because to my brain, it's getting more. This is why watching Netflix, although we know that it is slowly killing us, feels better than going out for a run because in that moment, it is conserving energy and allowing me to do what I'm surviving. Running feels it's high stress, high cortisol. I'm expending energy to my survival brain, which is always just looking, is this getting me closer to or farther from survival? I am wasting energy that I need in case a lion attacks, right? Everything goes to what happens if a rival tribe or a tiger attacks me in the next 5 minutes? Is this going to get me closer to or farther from survival? So anything that is expending too much energy goes against that. So now, because there are things that we have to do all the time, right? Our brain knows, our brain assumes if I do this today, I'm going to do it again tomorrow. That's just what it assumes, which is where a lot of our bad thoughts come from, a lot of things because we assume that the way things were are the way that things are always going to be. We know that's not the actual case, but this is where our negative self-talk comes from. This is where our self-defeating thoughts come from, where it's like, well, because I failed yesterday, I'm going to fail tomorrow. Neither here nor there again. I know I'm going a lot of places, but it's a far-reaching question. But the point of the habit thing is this is how your brain saves energy. Goes, okay, I have to wake up and tie my shoe today. I did that today. I did it yesterday. I did it the day before. Rather than wasting the mental energy of loop, crisscross, pull every day, I'm just going to put that into a different part of my brain where it goes on autopilot, where it's no longer a conscious thought, where I have to spend less mental energy for it. So now that's what a habit is. It's my brain
Mm.
putting something into a different part of my mind where I don't have to spend so much mental energy on it. So it kind of goes on in the background. You don't consciously think left, right, left, right, left, right as you're brushing your teeth, right? You just gotta
Right.
you just do it because you've done it so many times and it
Right.
becomes habitualized. So now people hear that and they think, oh, well, I want all of the hard things I do to become habitualized. Like if I hate exercising, but it becomes a habit where it's in my subconscious and it just happens, like, wouldn't that be lovely? Like, yeah, sure. That's all sunshine and rainbows. But the reality is, the more challenging something is, the more thoughtful it is, the less chance that it can actually become a true habit, right? Like going to the gym might be a habit, getting in your car, driving there. But the stuff you're going to do in the gym, very hard to habitualize because it's high energy, high intensity, high thought, right? Sitting down to read a book might be a habit, but you don't want to habitualize the reading part because you want to actually absorb the stuff that you're going. So
Mm.
habits have their place and it's to simplify things. And if we didn't have habits, our brains would explode from all of the things that we have to do on a given day. There's
Mhm.
infinite inputs coming in at any given time. So we need those to be able to exist in the world. But like I think the word gets overused because it's like we don't even know what it is. Like what we're really saying is like, I want this thing to be easier. Like I want it to go on autopilot, which is
Yeah.
great. Some things will go on autopilot. The more you repeat something, your brain will eventually say like, well, if I'm going to do this every day, might as well spend less mental energy on it. But it depends on the difficulty of the thing. It depends on the challenge. It depends on the frequency. It depends on a lot of different aspects.
I like how you use the Netflix example in that, again, if I again I'm just, and hopefully my listeners can think of an experience or something that is related to their own life, but in my experience was back when I was eating and really feeling great and doing these things. For instance, there'd be times where I would make some bean burgers, and it would take time. It would take a half hour to 40 minutes for me to prepare all these bean burgers and freeze them. And in the beginning, I remember it being like such a pain. And then it got to a point where I was just doing it. And I'd be like, oh, it's Saturday morning. This is what I do. And then blah, blah, blah. But the whole Netflix thing is likely what happens, and I'm just assuming, and I'm thinking of my own experiences, again, the amount of energy it takes for me to do those things that are going to be healthy for me, I might be able to fill that a lot easier. So it might be more like, okay, it's Saturday morning. I really should make the bean burgers, but let's go get some fast food breakfast or something. And it's quicker and easier. And I don't have to. So there could be something that could happen. I'm thinking about the experience I had. And that's exactly what happened. There was all of a sudden these again, I guess I always consider myself plant-based, but the word vegan is what people use, which I don't like to use. It gets a bit of a negative thing, but these vegan fast food restaurants started popping up everywhere. Oh, well, I can just go eat there now. Easier, it's faster, and like you said, I'm fulfilling that energy really quickly. It's just like I'm done. It doesn't require any work. So does that I mean, it might not be the same example for everybody listening, but it's kind of how that probably happens. If
Yeah.
something is harder, it's definitely more difficult to create that into a habit. If
Right,
it
100%. I mean, this is again, it's just our natural human inclination is to go towards things that are easier. I mean, again, it's multifaceted because there's also you literally get a good feeling when you eat certain things, right? So it's like now I combine the fact that pizza is easier, they deliver it to my house, and I get a big dopamine hit and a sugar rush spike. And then I compare that to the salad that I was going to make that doesn't make me as happy. It's more challenging to make. It just like all the other things. So again, like it's like so now, but this is important to highlight. I'm glad we got here because it's like now people will say like, well, I know I should be eating a salad and not a pizza. Why can't I do it? As if they're inherently flawed or broken. It's like I keep trying to stick to this diet and I keep ending up ordering pizza. Well, it's like because pizza's better. It tastes better. It's easier, like in all ways except for one. Salad is healthier. But we're not just comparing health. We're comparing enjoyment. We're comparing taste. We're comparing ease. We're
Mhm.
comparing the social situation of sitting around a table eating pizza with your family versus sitting around the table eating salads and having to force your kids to eat salads versus everyone enjoying pizza night. Everyone looks forward to pizza night. No one looks forward to salad night. Right. So it's
Mhm.
like you're looking at this one thing of being like, oh my gosh, I just can't stick to this diet. I just need to work harder. I just need to have more motivation. I just need to be more willpower. And it's like none of that is real. What you have to do is look at the full picture. And so now what I do with clients as well, if you have to, how do I start people? The next step is how do we make things easier? Because I just said that whatever's harder, your brain will inherently push away from, and
Mhm.
you will go towards the easier thing. So the question isn't, okay, making a black bean burger is hard and getting fast food is easy. So now it's like, how do I make the thing that I want to do easier so that becomes the natural choice? That's the real secret to where now I'm not fighting myself at every turn. I don't have
Mhm.
my subconscious pushing back because I'm trying to make myself do things that feels like a struggle. And I just do things that are easy. Going back to your example of like, well, eating fruit made me feel better. That's an easy decision. Why would I not do something that makes me feel better? Now, if I know that eating fruit makes me feel better, but I have no fruit in my house, now it's harder. I've made it harder for myself. And
Right.
now between here and the grocery store is a Taco Bell. Now I've set myself up for failure. But if I know that eating fruit makes me feel better and I have fresh fruit that's been washed, cleaned, cut, and stored in my fridge, and now I have a choice between driving to Taco Bell, which is tasty, or eating the fruit, which is also tasty and makes me feel better and is already in my house, that's an easy decision. So again,
Mhm.
we look at these things of just like apples and oranges, like what are we comparing here? You have to look at the full picture of what a human life is and all of the things that you have on your plate at any given time. And then you have to work to make it easier. Because if you make it harder, everything is already hard. Change is already hard. Making any positive life change is hard because if it wasn't, you would have done it already, just by
Right.
definition. No one sets a goal to tie their shoe more. No one sets a goal to watch more Netflix. No one sets a goal to eat more Taco Bell because those things are easy and we inherently do easy things. So rather than making your goal the hardest thing in the world, make it easier so it's just something you don't even have to think about.
That's great. And do you find, again, it's fun. It's great hearing you say these things because it keeps bringing back my experience I had, and I had gotten to a point where I did make things easier. Not only were they easier because of the way I was doing things, I started making them enjoyable. That's what you said. So, for instance, I would make a plant-based pizza, and it tasted great. And then what I would do is save the rest, put it in the fridge, and then I'd have a meal for later. And it was easy for me to just grab and throw it in the oven, and boom, I'm good to go. So it was creating the dishes that I loved growing up, but in a healthier way. And I actually would be like, I would have that, going back to what I said, is I would sometimes eat those things. And I'm not just saying this, I would say, this tastes better than, because it was full of flavor. Like it had so much more flavor to it. And I'd say, why isn't everybody eating this way? Well, then of course it's all these things you've said. It's learning. It's making things easier. It's understanding and educating yourself. And of course, if they're not educating themselves, I also love how you said, the answers are all out there. Like YouTube is I remember growing up, in my gen, we had these encyclopedia DVDs. That's what we learned things from. And they didn't have everything. They would, it would be on nature, or it'd be on a little bit of health nutrition, or it'd be on a little bit of something. But, now you go to Google and you can literally get anything. That can also, and actually, not to jump into a different topic, but do you think that can also work against you too, though, with all the knowledge that's out there? Because there's so much I would think there's so much confusion out
Yeah.
there that you probably get a lot of clients who are confused about the things they're going after.
100%. I mean, information overload is a thing as well. And I used to joke as a personal trainer, I would tell people 90% of my job is just telling people that's not how that works. Because people would come in with so many preconceived notions of like, I know I just have to do this. I know I just have to be vegan. I know I just have to be plant-based. I know I just have to be carnivore. But like you just said, right? Perfect example. You said when I started eating plant-based, all my skin conditions went away. I started feeling so much better. And then what did you say right after? But I also had a friend who ate keto and got those same results. But I also had a friend who ate carnivore and got those same results. And each one of those people is becoming a zealot to say, like, this thing works. Do my thing because my thing is the thing that'll cure you. When in reality, all of them work for certain people because everything works for someone. That's why it's a thing. So now with information overload, you Google what's the best diet and you get 6 different people who had 6 amazing results on 6 different diets, all telling you that this is the thing and everything else is bad. So 100% that's the thing. And that's why curating your inputs and learning who you can trust is a meta skill. So the people that you follow on social media, the podcasts that you listen to, the books that you read, like you have to have some level of discernment. Discernment in the age of information, like I just said, this is the age of infinite information. The skill of being able to discern of what is real and what is not is one of the most potent skills we can have because there is literally infinite information. And if infinite information is out there, that means there's infinite bad information as well. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to be able to discern what is what. And that can be a big problem. And that is where a coach comes in. Because when you're hiring a coach, what you're really doing, all you're hiring me for is to say, like, all that other stuff is bullshit. This stuff works. That's it. That's really what it is. It's like, again, all of the information is out there, but if you sat there on Google and tried to figure it out on your own, it would take you 10 years. I've already done the research. I've done this with 1,000 people. I know the parts that work. I know what you're going to think works, and I'm going to tell you why it doesn't. And I'm going to save you a lot of time and energy and effort to actually do the things that work. So it's just, again, I said this before, it's about putting blinders on. There's infinite information. You can just take it. There's also just becomes a problem, even if you're not taking in bad information. People will do this thing where they just keep taking in information, right? They're always learning, they're always reading more books, they're always watching more courses, they're always doing the thing, but they're never taking action. So that's a problem in itself as well, because it's like, well, I'm reading more books. It's like, but are you doing the thing that the books are talking about? Well, I'm
Mm-hmm.
watching more. I listen to all the health podcasts, but have you changed your diet? So like, there's a lot of different aspects. Again, nothing is one way. Everything is multifaceted, but 100% too much information can be as big of a problem, but there are solutions to that. Just find people that you trust who you can follow, right? Again, this is why I'm so about like the people I follow on Instagram. I unfollow people like no one's business. On TikTok, like no
Yeah.
one's business. Like if you're not giving me good stuff, I am going to unfollow you instantly. Like I
Right.
subscribe to newsletters, but only newsletters that give me very good information. And I've curated a very healthy environment of knowledge brokers that give me the stuff that I know that I can trust. And then I do the same for others.
Wow. I've never had anybody say that. I really like that. Because you speak on that goes and we could go in 100 directions when it comes to unfollowing the things that because we poison ourselves with information that is completely harmful to our life. There's times where people will say, "Oh, did you hear? There's this thing going on with the war," and I'll be like, "I don't even know that." And it's not because I'm ignorant and I feel terrible for people who experience those things, but if I know I can't do anything, like I don't know what that's going to do for me because it's just going to hurt my energy and that'll ripple through other people. If something comes up in my life and I have to deal with it, I'll deal with it. But I feel like we're at a point in our existence where we just feel like we need to consume everything, and the amount of stress that would put on our bodies. I mean, I've learned over the years just to let it like just not follow it. If I see it now, I do go down the rabbit hole though of consuming it at points, and then I go, what am I doing? What am I doing? And so you got to be careful. But that's great. That's great advice for anybody out there that finds themselves in that place where they're constantly under a large amount of stress. Start looking around at the things that you're consuming, the information that you're consuming, and if it's necessary.
Yeah, it's the thing is that everything, again, everything is the same. I say this a lot on my podcast. Everything is the same. That's why, again, I don't have to, all of this stuff I'm talking about is not about fitness. It's not about nutrition. It's not about relationships. It's about all of them because it's just the same stuff. And the way to success with anything is through curating your environment. So a lot of people think it's willpower, right? It's like, I should choose the salad over the pizza, but it's not. It's by setting up your environment in such a way that you don't have to rely on willpower. Willpower is a finite resource and has been shown over and over and over that willpower dwindles. This is why most people, when they overeat, it's at night, right? Most people are not waking up in the morning and having an ice cream sundae and just going, oh, I just couldn't do it. Usually it's
Right.
10, 11, 12 o'clock at night when your willpower has dwindled down. Same thing with watching Netflix. Same thing with probably any of your bad habits. It's usually happening towards the end of the day when your willpower, which is finite, like a gas tank, has been taken to its end. And now that's when you snap at your significant other. That's when you smoke a cigarette. That's when you have a drink. That's when you do whatever you do. Okay. So the solution is not to just have more willpower because there's no pill for willpower. There's no magic wand that will just give you more willpower. The solution is to, again, make things easier by setting up your environment to set you up for success. So that is you making the pizza ahead of time and then saving half of it tomorrow. So now tomorrow, I don't even have to make the decision because I already have the healthy thing. But when I talk about environment, it's not just the things that are around us. In the year 2024, our phone is our environment. My phone is basically an extension of my hand at this point. It is an appendage. It is attached to me more than anything else. I communicate with my phone more than I communicate with my mom, my sister, my girlfriend, or anyone else. So to think that that thing is not affecting us in so many ways would be ludicrous. So you have to look at the things that you are intaking, the content that you are taking in, the people that you are following, as if they were sitting in the same room as you. Like as if they were just sitting and trumpeting into your ear. Don't eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this. Like that's how impactful it is. And again, you can use that power, like it's a powerful tool that cuts both ways. I've learned so much from Instagram. I've learned so much from TikTok, from little 8-second videos, from 30-second, from pictures with just captions, because I've chosen to follow the right people.
Mm.
And that is a huge part of this. But again, like it's all the same where it's making your environment set up for success. When you open your app, whatever it is, I mean, again, we could talk about just not opening your app so much. That's a whole different rabbit hole. But if when you open your app, does it make you feel good? Are you following people? Are you hate scrolling? Like, oh, this girl again. Oh, she's on vacation. I hate her. It's like, don't do that. Like follow people who teach you things, follow people who make you feel good about things. Like social media, it's like going to your office at work and just having only negative pictures around you, around your office. No, you put pictures of your family smiling, you put pictures of like motivational quotes and stuff like that. So do the same thing on social media, do the same thing in your apartment. Set yourself up for success by having the equipment there, having the things that you need to be successful. Again, it all circles back to make this easier on yourself. You're playing the game on hard mode when you're surrounding yourself with without the tools that you need to succeed. So the route to success is not, again, to just man up, to just dig deep, to just do it. Like, again, if it were that simple, you would have done it already. There is a real level of you have to set yourself up for success, and you do that by making things easier. I love that you used that, like that you used enjoyment before. I actually teach this as a framework. So easier is an acronym. EASIER is what I take my clients through. E, the first step is enthusiastic. Are you enthusiastic about something? Because if you're not, you're probably not going to want to do it, right? Like if you like you said, like when if it was like that pizza that you enjoyed, you were enthusiastic about it, so you didn't mind making it. You didn't mind going out grocery shopping and getting the ingredients. You didn't mind cooking it. You didn't mind choosing that over the store-bought pizza. But if it was something that you didn't enjoy, that you weren't enthusiastic about, you would have said, nah, screw it. I'm just going to order pizza today. So it's like we try to force ourselves to do things that we don't even want to do. When
Mhm.
in reality, there's a route. Like, of course, that's what I'm saying. Like, people will hear this and they go, "Well, I don't want to exercise. So, like, how do I get enthusiastic about it?" So, find an exercise that you're enthusiastic about. Maybe it's
Right.
dancing. Maybe it's Zumba. Maybe it's rowing. Maybe it's stand-up paddleboarding. Maybe it's hiking. There's so many
Mhm.
ways. Same thing with eating. Well, I'm not enthusiastic about eating a salad every day. So then don't eat a salad every day. Eat it. Like we pigeonhole into these things as if things are one way. There are infinite ways to exercise. There are infinite ways to eat healthy. There are infinite ways to work on a business. There are infinite ways to meditate. There are infinite ways to work on your relationship. Whatever you want to improve, find a way that is enjoyable, that you can be enthusiastic about, and that will make the path to it not just so much easier, but actually happen. Because if not, you're
Right.
fighting against yourself every step of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the opposite of finding that enthusiasm is stress. Because if you don't enjoy doing something, but you're forcing yourself to do it, that stresses you out. So if you're, you know what I mean? And then what does stress bring? Stress brings inflammation and stress. So
Right.
you could be fighting this battle and working against yourself because you're doing something that you're not even enjoying because you think that you're supposed to do it a certain way. So I really like that. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, so I'd go a step further, right? You're right, stress. But what does too much stress lead to? You said inflammation, but I said it before, self-sabotage. You are inherently choosing failure already. Like if you set, like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, why even set off down this road? Because at some point, it might not be day one, might be day 100, it might be year three, but eventually that stress is going to accumulate to an unsustainable level, and the scale is going to tip where you're going to quit. So that's my whole point with this. It's not like, okay, well, it's just stressful. It's like you cannot sustain that. It is unsustainable. And if for me, when I'm talking about helping people create change in their life, if it's not a lifelong change, I don't want to do it. Like I
Mhm.
do not want to set someone up with a workout, with a business plan, with anything that they're going to do if there's going to be for 6 months and then they're going to stop. To me, there's
Right.
no point to doing that. If a change is worth creating in your life, then you're saying it should be worth creating forever. And if it's not worth creating forever, then why are you even wasting your time doing it right now? So
Yes.
when you're saying it's not enjoyable and I can do it, but it's stressful and it's overwhelming, it's like you've already lost. You've chosen. You're basically saying in not so many words, eventually I'm going to quit this. I don't know when, but eventually I'm going to give up. I'm going to quit and I'm going to lose all the hard work and hard progress. So it's like, why not skip that part, make it easier? Because that's the thing. People go, well, if it's too easy, like, will it even work? But if it's too hard, you're going to quit. I'd rather low and slow, like good barbecue, right? I'd rather the easy thing that you can do for years, because consistency wins all the time, right? Everyone knows that. Ask any successful person, how'd you get good at playing guitar? I practiced every day for 10 years. How'd you get good at business? I practiced every day for 10 years. How'd you get good at exercising? I went to the gym 5 times a week for 10 years. How'd you get good at eating healthy? Well, at first I didn't know what to eat and it kind of sucked, but then I kept doing it and I kept doing it and I found good things to eat. It's like, oh, consistency wins in every realm, in every world, every autobiography, every person who's ever done anything good will just tell you it's consistency. So
Mhm.
again, there's no secret. We know what we have to do. And yet
Yeah.
we try to do hard things that we don't want to do, that we can't be consistent with. It's so backwards. And it's so simple if you just find things that you enjoy, that you're enthusiastic about, and you make things easier. And that is like, I mean, it seems counterintuitive, but to me, it's the only logical answer that makes sense.
Mhm. And I think, and I think also self-awareness is key. I was gonna say if because a lot of times you can start down a road that does feel good, that does feel right, that does feel worthwhile. Like, this is something I could do for my life. This feels great. And I think it's ultimately where people go wrong is they might adjust and they might change and they might add. And without being aware that you don't like that new change you've made, then you start to not like it and you go, why am I doing this? And then you go down the wrong road and you start losing the reason as to why you even started in the first place. And I think that happens probably in healthy eating. Maybe you start eating a salad every lunch and you're like, you know what? I actually like this. I could do this the rest of my life. I love it. All of a sudden you see change. You go, okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this, and this. And you overcomplicate it. And then the next thing you know, now you weren't aware that you didn't want to do that. And now you're completely going down the rabbit hole and you're stopping by Taco Bell. So I think that can also happen too. Because I think I've done it. And so I'm sure that, I'm trying to always understand, what am I aware of that makes me feel good? What is it that, because if it doesn't, then I have to question, why doesn't it feel good? Okay. And then maybe I adjust to something that feels better. Like you said, I liked how you said, if you don't like, if you're not someone who want to do 50 push-ups every day, okay, Zumba might be the way. Maybe it's whatever, like something that just makes you feel good, but you're moving your body and stuff, right? So yeah,
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
I mean, it's exactly, I'll leave people with this one last thing. Like, this is exactly how I teach change, right? You said self-awareness. That's exactly, awareness is the first step of everything. I teach what I call the change loop: awareness, education, action, AEA. Awareness is the first step. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know about yourself. You don't know about anything. You can't change what you don't know exists. Then once you know that it's a thing, the next step is education, right? Because, all right, like, it's like, okay, well, like, I know I need to eat healthier. What does that mean? What is healthy? How do I cook healthy foods? How do I grocery shop? If I've never done these things, I need to be educated. That's where books, that's where YouTube, that's where coaches come in. And then the last step is action, because you can have all the awareness and all the education. If you're not taking the action, it doesn't matter. That's the person that I mentioned before, who's reading all the books, doing all the things, but they're not taking the action. And then that brings you back around to, it's a loop. So it brings you back around to awareness, because things change and now you have to come to a new conclusion. And you
Mhm.
have to be constantly evaluating, am I in the right place? And again, that's all to why this stuff is so complicated, because there is no one answer. There is no one right way to do everything. Everything is a fluid, constant flux. Everything is living, and when you push, life pushes back. When you change, everything else changes. So it's this complex, dynamic system where people just go like, why isn't this just like, when I do this, this happens? Since that's just not how life works, right? Like, a butterfly flaps its wings, or whatever you want to say, but like, everything is affecting everything. And again, that just goes back to my whole point about, like, if it is so hard already, like, everything is hard already. Change is hard already. Life is hard already. Everything is so hard. Why would you want to make it harder on yourself? That's my whole thing. It's like, it's
Yeah.
already so hard to eat healthy. Like, don't make it
Right.
more complicated than it has to be. Like you
Yeah.
said, eat fruits and vegetables. Like, when I start people with nutrition, this is again why I don't do much nutrition anymore, because it's so simple. Fruits, vegetables, protein. Just make most of your food that, and then you'll be the healthiest person alive.
Right.
Like, it
Right.
doesn't, like, you don't have to make it, like, people want this. What should the timing be? And should it, how many macronutrients? It's like fruits, vegetables, protein. You don't eat meat? Good. Add tofu. You eat meat? Add chicken and steak. Okay,
Right.
there we go. Do that for 10 years. Call me. And then, like, it's like,
Right. Right.
like, we don't have to overcomplicate this stuff, but we
Right.
do. It's our natural human tendency. So again, like, I just wanted to, if there's one thing I can leave people with, it's like, take the easy way out. Like, I know it's counter to everything that every motivational person says. Like, you got to, like, yes, you do have to do hard things. There will be some level of discomfort. But again, that's inherent with change. What you don't have to do is make it harder than it already has to be.
Right. Love everything about that. So, fruit, vegetables, and a protein. And here's the thing. And it's funny. The good thing is, though, that's why you exist. That's why coaches exist, right? To help motivate, to help keep people go. Last question I have, and it's really, this can be two parts to a question, but one of the questions I ask every guest I have on here, and it's just around your the purpose of what you're doing, the things that you're doing, in being a mindset and personal development coach. I always ask everybody why we're here. What do you think your main purpose is, why you're here? Like, what is your main drive and purpose?
I think that I have been, I don't know if you want to say blessed, whatever, like, fortunate that I like this kind of stuff. I just ranted for an hour. I could go for 8 hours doing this. I read books, I listen to podcasts. Like, this stuff is fun for me, learning about this stuff. So my mission is to distill this down and help the people who aren't like that. Just like some people love running, I hate running.
Hmm.
So that's okay. But some people, I love learning and not everyone else does, but this is important stuff for people to know. So my mission is to take the hundreds and thousands of hours that I spend reading books, listening to podcasts, taking courses, and putting it into a container where someone listening to this show for just 1 hour can take enough away that they can live a better, more fulfilling life. Because I think that is the end goal for everyone. Again, take away the weight loss, take away the looks, take away the this, take away the that. It's like we just want to be happier and more fulfilled. So, that's exactly what I do with my podcast. I have 300 episodes, and that's my only goal with every episode is to just give you in 30 to 60 minutes something that you can change your life for the better.
So to live a happier and fulfilling life. I love that. That's a great way to end it off. Where can people find you? You mentioned the podcast. Can you just give me a little rundown of where people could find your information or what they want to work with you?
Yeah, for sure. I love that. And I mean, my podcast is Happy, Healthy Human. Like I said, there's about 300 episodes now. Who knows by the time you're listening to this, there's a wealth of information, right? I already said there's so much information out there. That's the first place I want. I don't even want people to pay me. I want you to go and listen to all those episodes and learn what you can for free. Assuming you want more, just find me on social media. It's just at Paul Levitin, my name on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you can find me. I exist, LinkedIn, whatever. And the last thing I'll offer is I mentioned that easier habits checklist. That is a literal checklist that I created for my clients, and I'll give that to anyone for free. I'll send you a link if you want to just DM me on Instagram, or I can give that to you, Joe, to include. It's literally a simple checklist that takes you through that framework to make your habits and routines easier so that you have more of a chance of sticking with them.
That'd be awesome. I'll add anything to the end notes. And I appreciate you being here, Paul. It was really a great conversation. And definitely, like I say in every episode, at the end of every episode, it goes in a completely different direction than what I thought, but it always goes in the right direction. So the last thing I'm going to say is anybody that's listening to the Soul Inspired, please like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to get good information out to as many people as possible and share the wealth of knowledge in a good form, and make sure again that you don't follow the things that don't benefit you in your life, as we mentioned. But for now, thanks again for being on again, Paul. And until next time, we'll see you next time on Soul Inspired.